is Boadu TV. Truth and integrity.
My mama nyina kwa ba famra Boadu TV. So so first time I subscribe ye nyina like ye nye comment. It's a comment section mo. Paul Adom Otchere edin komodi afa aye mama pat Agradaa. Beye ifi kakrantem nie. Wo ye story for Agradaa ho kwan ya wafa so bu Ghana for. Ene se na mra no ka e de fa se odada obi agini sika okaye kutu ebe mu nyina Agradaa nti ne ade na si what I say esi ama ne Agradaa ko 15 years wasan di hu komo now survey bi akoso MPP one ne be lead yom 2028 baumia e lead race no NDC one e lead yom 2028 Haruna Drisu e lead race nana sene mu nsam ete ato forcing atu Asian rather atu Asian wane eye Adu Boahen case no ho asema kwakosi sen anoche frimpon lawyer HSA mami Gertrude araba Torkono a enei NDC for tata no yes se ne bo fa ne den wo no yi kwam kuma man na history pra yentie Paul Adom Otchere.
What has happened?
So the Circuit Court 10, Her Honor Justice Evelyn Asamoah has handed down a judgment placing Agradaa in custody for 15 years with hard labor, or we say in hard labor. And so, yes, this is pursuant to the case we discussed about 3 years ago, where she was charged for two things: defrauding by false pretenses and charlatanic advertisements.
What did she actually do?
So the defrauding by false pretenses, she made a promise and she actually collected money from church members in an all-night service that she was going to multiply the money for them. And I remember we made the distinction between that and other pastors making calls for maybe seed, that in this instance, the entity that prints money is the Bank of Ghana. And therefore, if you promise to multiply money, you are putting yourself in place of Bank of Ghana, which is impossible. So you cannot multiply money. It's something you just cannot do. But you can pray for people to say that, okay, if I pray for you, or I give you this holy water, or I give you this anointing oil, and you smear on your face, the favor of God can come on you and you can get some money. It's fine. That is not really defrauding.
That's faith-based.
That's faith-based. But in this instance, you are making specific promises and you are hinging it on a specific result. And the specific result is that you are saying that once you give me 10 cedis, I am going to multiply the 10 cedis. I am going to give you 20 cedis. Who prints the extra 10 cedis? It's the Bank of Ghana. Meaning you cannot do it. It's essentially a Ponzi scheme you are running using the name of God. And consequently, that is why she's been convicted. For the 15 years, her lawyer made the case. So what we do in criminal law is that when the case is done, there's something called conviction. Conviction is that the court is telling you that you are either innocent, that you are guilty. So it's either you are convicted or you are acquitted. Conviction is that you are guilty. Acquitted is they say, go home, you are free. Now, after the conviction, the court, because she's a woman of childbearing age, would order for an assessment as to whether or not she is pregnant at the time of the conviction.
Even if she's not married?
Oh, that has nothing to do with it.
So at what age will the court say that there's no need for a pregnancy test? 65?
Yeah, possibly. After 60, as you are out of childbearing age.
But miracles happen. Miracles happen.
So the miracle can happen in jail. But we deal with...
Assuming that the pregnancy test came positive, what would have happened?
Assuming it came positive, then there will be issues of sentencing. So the court would have to look at... It doesn't mean you still go home or you still go scot-free. But there are other avenues that the court can actually use in making sure that you give birth out of jail before you come back for sentencing and then you are sent to custody. In Sawom. Normally, you would go to Ashafort for a couple of days or weeks, and then you are processed to go to either the medium security prison at Sawom or maximum at Ankafor. But I don't think she would go to maximum. I'm most likely medium. It's not really, she's not...
Why is the sentence so long? Why 15 years?
Well, the case that was made by the prosecution in this instance was that she's already a first-time offender. In the sense
by doing what?
So there was a time she ran a TV station media without license and without accreditation. And so in that instance, she had more or less committed a crime before, and she was quite troublesome in that regard. And it seems because after that, and after a pat on her hand, she had not repented, and she went ahead to commit this crime again. And so the court thought that, well, 15 years. Because if you look at section 132 of Act 29, it prescribes that for the offense known as defrauding by false pretenses, the punishment is 10 to 25 years. So the court can pick in between, despite the fact that generally second-degree felonies, the maximum is 10 years. But 132 says, notwithstanding 296 in Act 30, which prescribes the maximum to be 10 years, you can still give between 10 to 15, between 10 to 25. So the court in this instance gave her 15 years.
What are the remedies in the circumstance?
So right now, her remedy, the remedy of counsel is to apply on appeal. In this instance, because it was a circuit court, she can appeal to the High Court. Now, when she appeals to the High Court, her lawyers can do what we call bail pending appeal. Now, for the bail pending appeal, the lawyers are supposed to demonstrate that, one, they are going on appeal, and on appeal there is a prospect of success.
Success means a not guilty
And
or
not
a reduction
the
of
High
the
Court.
or a reduction of the
So
sentence.
that's also a different form of appeal. So you may appeal the conviction, or you may appeal the sentence. You may appeal the conviction that you are basically telling the High Court that my client is innocent. Now, you are appealing you may also appeal the sentence in the sense that you are saying that even though my client is guilty, the 15 years is harsh, and therefore something must be done about it. You remember Robert Mensah, the footballer, who had gotten the opportunity to go abroad and play football for one of the...
I like the way you say it, and that's why I appreciate you, because when Robert Mensah died, I wasn't born, you were not born. And you're asking me if I remember Robert Mensah. He died in 1971.
Yes.
He played for Asante Kotoko.
Yes.
But you read about it.
Yes.
The guy who stabbed him to death in Tema. You
So
know about it?
Yes. So
You've done very well.
I think, last time, he was in Ghana having fun with friends before he goes. Then two people were fighting, Melfa and one other person. So he comes in trying to settle the fight. And the one who Robert Mensah accidentally killed charged at him with a broken bottle. And so in an act of defending himself, he killed the person. The lower courts convicted him and said manslaughter. But upon appeal, even though the courts his lawyers did not challenge the conviction per se, they said that the judgment was harsh in the sense, or the sentence was harsh in the sense that he was the person who was coming in to stop the fight. And it was rather the deceased person who charged towards him. So even though, yes, everybody there saw that indeed he stabbed the dead person died, the court should temper justice with mercy. And that is how Robert Mensah's conviction was reduced. In fact, at the time of the higher court's judgment, they noticed that he had served most of the time already, and therefore they just acquitted him.
What about the remedy that lies on the president's desk? How does it work?
That's Article 72 of the Constitution, which provides for the power of the president to grant clemency. This means that the president can do some things. One, he may reduce the sentence. He may also suspend the punishment indefinitely. What the president cannot do is to erase a conviction. So, even if President Mahama, as a result of the hug he shared with Nana Agradaa,
and in the spirit of Thanksgiving service,
in the spirit of Thanksgiving
of 1st July,
on 1st July, decides to say that, you let her go out of custody, she is still going to be recorded as
an ex-convict,
which means that she may not be available for certain
ministerial
positions,
parliamentary
even
positions.
A director. Act 992, the Companies Act, has provided for that if you are convicted of certain offences relating to honesty, propriety, monetary issues, defrauding by false
pretenses, you cannot be a director of any
company.
company.
A director of a company. So you may not be in custody in cells, though, but you will still have the tag of ex-convict.
All we need right now for Agradaa is to be taken out of the cells to continue to do her work in honesty. That's all we need.
In honesty?
Yeah, honestly. But she stopped that. I mean, since the last time, since she stopped, over the last 2 years, she doesn't do Sika Gari. She just has an acidic tongue and she insults quite a bit, which she should stop. Yeah, yes. But really, she doesn't defraud people. I don't know. I don't think she does.
Oh, but you know, the multiplication of money, promising.
But she's still doing it.
No, I'm saying then. I'm talking of the charge.
Yeah, that one may lie. That one may lie. But,
yes, but
right
once you've
now,
done it, we can't say that because you killed someone in 2020 and you were convicted in 2025. Therefore, we should let you go because you stopped killing people.
Well, I'm saying that part of what should go through the president's mind in suspending the sentence,
punishment, okay,
is that she's not dangerous to the society. I mean, she creates some fun for some people.
Oh, yes.
We use our videos here. People watch and they are laughing.
When we use her videos, our views
are going up. So really, I think that President Mahama should. Is this something the vice president can do on behalf of the president?
No, it's vested in the president. In fact, there may be a debate if the vice president acting as a president,
can do it,
sworn in, can do it. Because my philosophy is that the whole purpose of a vice president acting in the stead of a president is for limited functions. I don't think the vice president can act,
Oh, that's interesting. That's philosophical.
Yeah, it's
when the vice president acting as president, he cannot take up the presidential responsibilities in the constitution, like Article 78, 79,
exactly.
appointing ministers.
Because I think the rationale is that you are just warming. There's a political history behind all these things. Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown when he was in Hanoi, Peking, China, on the streets of Hanoi. Buzia was overthrown when he was in London for an eye surgery. I think Liman was overthrown. He was here. Liman was here when he was overthrown.
He was in the castle.
When he was overthrown. So I think the history behind that is to always have someone to warm the seats, so that
there's no power
vacuum of sorts, and therefore the warming of the seats should not be taken to be
I tended to agree with you. So where is he right now as we speak, Agradaa?
Right now, I cannot tell, but the process is upon conviction. The practice is you would go to one of the main holding cells. It can be any police station. So there are clients that they have convictions that some lawyers are working on their cases. I don't want to use my name, but some lawyers are working on their cases, and before processing, they are even in cells, some at regional headquarters police. So for her, for the importance, how popular she is, she may be sent to Ashford at Jamestown, or she may be sent to one of the police stations that have relatively, I don't think she should be sent to somewhere like Mamprobi police station, but maybe regional headquarters, cantonments, these places where there's security, where she will be processed and subsequently transferred to one of the prison holding facilities.
East Legon.
East Legon seems quite small for me.
The police station?
Yeah, the police station.
But it's near the executive, East Legon Executive Club.
Oh, I mean, despite can be bringing here. And then processed to the main
one question which is not legal, and that's my final question. What's going to happen to her husband?
He said, so there's a video. He said that he would, which is interesting. I was expecting him to say, we'll fight. But he said that it's in God's hands and that he waits for him for the 15 years, wait for her for the 15 years, and he will take care of the church. And I was saying, that's interesting. I thought your first point of call would be, we'll fight this conviction. But he said
I think their only remedy is to get people who know President Mahama and to make a case.
And to talk to.
To make a case, to make a real big case.
Well, I don't think
President Mahama... But can President Mahama suspend the sentence now, or must he serve some of it?
That was the debate we were having. I am not aware as to whether she should serve a substantial portion.
Remember that during the Muntie 3, it was said that they have served half the sentence already. They had been incarcerated for a month.
Yes.
And that it was due for president to come in. So we have to check the law in that regard. And viewers, those of you who know the law, you can tell us.
72 doesn't
really... You can share the law with us if you know the law and what it says.
Article 72 doesn't really give the details in that regard as to the number of days that a person should serve a sentence before he or she...
Oh, it doesn't?
Yes, it doesn't. It just says the president has that power to grant clemency in those specific instances. So maybe there may be conventions. But I also don't think President Mahama would because if you look at, particularly here in opposition, talking about the fact that NDC lawyers should get ready so that it comes to take the bench, and then many of these things, CJ Torkono suspension, it seems, I have even some friends, USA that, the BBC reported the president suspends Chief Justice. They really didn't give the nuance, the president suspends Chief Justice. Doing this now would also look like, a bit too much regarding interfering with judicial.
Oh.
Particularly at this time. Maybe if everything was okay, maybe nothing was going on, he could have. But people will take it. People will really take it up and say that you one person you are suspending Chief Justice. You the same person you've made comments against Chief Justice in the past, judiciary in opposition, and you the same person you also.
Oh,
so I think
that's
a political.
Agradaa is a nobody. She's not a politician. She's not a, she's not a threat to anybody.
Or somebody who could take, that amount of money from.
But have those people been compensated?
For criminal
the
law,
victims.
Criminal law doesn't concern compensation. Criminal law looks at the conviction of the person. So what they should have done was to sue her in another remedy, maybe breach of contract. Maybe they had, oral contracts are legally enforceable. And so once she contracted to them, that also would not be enforceable, because a contract for you to duplicate money for me, clearly you should have seen.
Contract, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you should have clearly seen it's not a contract.
My goodness,
so
this is sad.
It's one of those.
But
things.
did she not know that on Thursday it was Judgment Day for her? When she felt so excited that
her lawyers had assured her
that there will be no problem.
There will be no problem. Maybe I'm sure they made submissions in courts. They did well and all that. But in court cases, it can go left or right. That it depends on God and the judge.
Okay, we've done 10 minutes. Ambassador Musa Dankwa comes up with something else, new research here, and voters' preference for MPP leadership, he says. I've not looked at the details, so I don't know the sample size and all of that. Musa Dankwa was heavily criticized for his sample size. He's been on a back and forth with Miracles Boadu on social media. I'm sure that you've seen it. Okay, so he says that voters' preference for the MPP leadership has Adu Boahen leading at 56%. It's followed by Kennedy Ohene Japan at 23%. It's followed by Osei Adu at 9%. It's followed by Patrick Yabuama, who is yet to indicate his role, yet to indicate his intention in the whole thing. Brian Achampong has indicated his intention. He's been doing quite well on the social media with the videos he put up, speaking in Ghana, Ewe, and all that, and showing himself as a youngest person. Brian invited journalists to his home, and I was one of those. I remember I had a very good time with Kojo Angson. We sat together, we were gossiping throughout. Kojo Angson, how are you? Samson Ladi was there too, and Winston. We had a very nice time that day, engaging with Brian, and there were other journalists there. And Brian spoke very well. He spoke passionately. He spoke about what he's done with the party. So Brian has really launched his campaign, and he's really in there. I'm surprised that Brian finds himself behind Patrick Boahen, who is actually yet to say anything about anything. So, and then he says others is 5%. Kwabene Japan is yet to launch. I think I hear that he's going to launch. Joe Garte does not even show up in the whole race, which I'm not too sure. I mean, if this survey went to Western region, you would have found some people talking about Joe Garte for sure. But this is what Musa Dankwa says. And until it changes, we will have to look at it like that. 56% Adu Boahen, 23% Kennedy Ohene Japan, 9% Osei Adu in the third position. Patrick Yabuama, 4% when he has not said he's doing anything. And Brian Achampong, who has said a lot about what he's doing. People think that Brian is really the dark horse in the race. Everyone believes that the race is between Adu Boahen and Kennedy Japan. Why do they believe so? That's how the last race ended. The last race ended with Adu Boahen number 1, Kennedy Japan number 2. So if there's a race that both of them are involved, you would assume that they will be the two front runners. People think that Duchum is third, Brian is third, whatever it is. But Musa Dankwa's most revealing part of the research is Patrick Boahen, who has said nothing. He's not said he's doing anything. But he's already quite popular among 4% of the voters. We'll leave it here. Let's see. Does the NDC one follows? Absolutely it does. That also has a shocker in there. It has Idrisu Haruna at 27%. 1 percentage point ahead of Johnson Asiedu Nkatia. Now, Idrisu Haruna has not said that he's running for anything. He's not said he's running for anything. I heard that he's being prepared to be the most viable running mate of whoever wins. Because whoever wins, if it's a Southerner, is always going to go for a running mate from the North. And Idrisu Haruna is in pole position to become that person in the North. So that's Idrisu Haruna. Leading with 27%, that if the election voters' preference for NDC leadership after John Mahama is Haruna Idrisu, well, that's what Musa Dankwa says. Johnson Asiedu Nkatia is not surprising to see him up there. He has already indicated his intentions to become president after leader of the party. He's currently the chairman of the party. What I'm not so sure is going to happen is that in 2026, I believe, The NDC is going to go to Congress to change the national leadership. Well, to elect, not necessarily to change. Some will be retained. To elect the national leadership. Adu Boahen is chairman today. If he could run as chairman again, be elected as chairman in 26, and then file for presidential in 27, which is when by the NDC constitution, they have to be looking for a new leader 1 year to the next election if the NDC is in power. Same with the MPP. If they are not in power 2 years before the election, if they are in power 1 year before the election. Same. So Adu Boahen here is, we have to wait to see whether when the chairmanship race comes up, he will pull back and say, I don't want to contest for chairman again. He's been chairman for 1 term, I believe. It's been 1 term. So I don't know what he's going to say. But he may pull out, he may not pull out. Those who know him have told me that he will not pull out. He will run as chairman. He will win the chairmanship. Then in 27, he will step down from chairman to be presidential aspirant candidate and see if he can win. Keselato Forsen, on the account of the economic situation, which sometimes I saw a post by Manasseh today, which said that prices have gone up in Bolga market. Then I see another post by somebody in Sunyani market. Says Manasseh says prices have gone down in Bolga market. Then I see another post in Sunyani market says prices are the same or they've gone up. I see a post says that cement has gone down. Then I see another post says that cement has gone up. I really don't know what is happening. I asked the people in my house. They say plantain is not in season, so plantain is way up there. It's really confusing to determine whether the prices in the markets have really gone down. As a result of that, last Monday we commissioned the research for 8 to 10 days. When it comes back, we will actually know where we are on the matter. But that's Keselato Forsen. Also ahead of Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, for whom many have indicated a preference, many in the NDC have indicated a preference for Julius Deborah to come after President John Dramani Mahama. In fact, during the run-up to 2024, there were those who expressed the interest that Julius Deborah must become the running mate instead of Professor Jenano Opoku-Agyeman to whip up higher sentiments and get the NDC a resounding victory. It didn't happen. Jenano Opoku-Agyeman was on the ballot and the NDC got a resounding victory. Anyway, so Julius is at 11. Okuyeto Ablakwa, our foreign minister, is at 8. Dr. Rawlings, who has just been overlooked for all the ministerial positions, it was hoping that she would get the Minister of Health. Grace Ayonsu got it, so Zaneto is not in the first team. And President Mahama has said he may be doing some changes. And learning from the Akufo-Addo experience, I am sure that President Mahama will do a major reshuffle at some point, because the Akufo-Addo lack of reshuffle appeared to have affected the enthusiasm within the MPP people, culminating and contributing to the 2.1 million voters who did not turn up to vote. So President Mahama observing that, I believe that he's going to do a reshuffle. So we just have to say that Zaneto is not being part of the first line of ministers. We don't know what is going to happen next. Others are 3%. So this is what Musa Dankwa says are voters' preferences for the MPP and the NDC. Okay. Perhaps it's time to bring in my director for us to look at Agradaa. Oh, you want me to do the Supreme Court, isn't it? Do you have a video of the Supreme Court situation, the judges? If you have a video of it, you do have a video. Let's watch the video first, and then 7 Supreme Court judges were sworn in today. There is a video that everyone was sending to me. President John Dramani Mahama, speaking as in the opposition, said that he, based on the recommendations of the Constitution Review Committee of Professor Mills, which was chaired by Justice Fiajo and secretaried by Professor Raymond Atuguba, based on that recommendation, they wanted the Supreme Court to have a cap of 15 judges. The video says that President Mahama said in the video that he was going to have 15 judges. He's being criticized today for having 20 judges when he said he was going to have 15 by adding 7 to 13. They thought that he should have added 2 to bring it to 15. Supporters of President Mahama say that, well, he said he's going to have 15 judges. Maybe he said by the end of his term. So some are going to retire and some are going to fix, and then by the end of his term, he'll have 15 judges. President Mahama is saying that the Constitutional Review Committee, which is working with Professor Kwesi Prempeh, perhaps will give a recommendation. But now, though, let's look at the judges who made the list today. Professor Sir Justice Dennis Ejay made the list today to the Supreme Court. Mr. Justice Gabriel Subari made the Supreme Court today. You have Justice Akabuafo. Justice Akabuafo is very new at the Court of Appeal. He was appointed by Akufo-Addo to the Court of Appeal just about 2 years ago, and he's been very fortunate to get an elevation to the Supreme Court. Congratulations, my lord. And then you have Justice Senyo Jamefe, who has been at the Court of Appeal for quite long. some lawyers were unhappy that Jamefe has been there. I have to say that lawyer Moses Fuamoni has always been calling me anytime there was a Supreme Court. Say, Paul, tell the old man, Justice Jamefe is still at the Court of Appeal. He's a great judge. Tell the old man. And I said, Moses, I will organize so that you go and tell him yourself. He said, send me Godfrey's number. Let me call him. Justice Jamefe should be on the Supreme Court. That's Moses Fuamoni and the conversations we used to have. We started having conversations again. Moses is a great brain. One of the finest brains that we have in Ghana is Moses Fuamoni. So congratulations, Justice Senor Jamefe. And Justice Philip Bright Mensah is also just recently coming to the court. And people have been giggling and whispering that Justice Bright Mensah is being rewarded for being one of the 2 judges who overturned the Ato Forsen submission of no case, etc., etc. I'm not sure it's because of that. I'm not sure. Judges do their work, and you can always make the linkages you want. But the power of the president to appoint judges is sacrosanct. It's in the Constitution. You can interpret it however you want. But Justice Bright Mensah is on the Supreme Court now. Congratulations, my lord. And then you have Justice Hafisa Amali Boba, who is also, it's always delightful to see women climb up. But Justice Hafisa has also been on the Court of Appeal for a very short time. And then now she's gone up to the Supreme Court by elevation. Congratulations, Your Lordship. And then you have Justice Janapari Battles Kojo, who is also now a member of the Supreme Court. Altogether right now, we have 20 Supreme Court justices. Oh, my pen is gone here. Okay, they'll fix it for me when you are not watching. Altogether, there are about 20 Supreme Court judges. Please, lawyer, come, get ready. Let's deal with it. There are about 20. No, it's okay. I can hold this one. Don't worry about the pen. There are about 20 Supreme Court judges now in violation of President Mohammed's ambition to have 15 judges. But he said it's the Constitutional Review Committee. So Adu Boahen is here. Adu, God be with you. We are praying with you, and hopefully President Mahama will consider it's not just KSM who has spoken about this to President Mahama. KSM has done it publicly, but I think there are many people. The guy was said that he decided to pay some of the money himself. He's paid as much as 30-something million Ghana cedis. He couldn't raise the rest, and so the courts convicted him as he was told they will. But at this stage, his health is failing. He's a young man. Adu is 40-something, and his health is failing. He has a backbone that doesn't work. He has a leg pain that doesn't work. He was in 37 military hospital for almost 9 months, 10 months, 11 months. Now he's back at someone prison. Anybody who has any power, please, they should. I saw President Mahama go to the prison the other day. He visited the prison. It was a very good thing. I didn't know whether he got wind of it or whether they told him or something, but this is a big matter. This is a young 40-something-year-old man, and he's done so much. He's innovated things in the banking sector. He may have wronged one way or the other. The corrections have been done. We plead that he is still willing to pay the money. He's still willing to pay what is left. But he says that in prison, he cannot work. He can't do anything to pay. And so if he will be given the opportunity to at least come and look after his health, and he's not going to run away anywhere. We all know him. We all know where he lives. We know where he is. He's not going to run away anywhere. So we plead that. I know Thaddeus Sori has been doing legal representation for him, and I'm sure Thaddeus has good officers to be able to get some of these pardons done. So, Mr. Essien, we pray for you. We pray for his family, and we hope that we will hear very good news about Adu Boahen very, very soon. Anyway, now let's get to the first controversial matter before. This is Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and tonight we have quite we're going to spend a lot of time in court issues. Adu Boahen, swearing in of Supreme Court judges, all related to court. Agradaa also court. So we're going to do quite a bit of court issues. When we get to Agradaa, a lawyer, Ejapon, is going to come in to explain to us what has happened. Okay. This is Osaje for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. This is Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, his foreign minister at the time the coup occurred. Now, I like watching this historian on GTV. Fantastic man. He's a lawyer and a historian. He gives us history. Everyone who knows me knows that I love history. This guy is a proper historian. I was just worried about how he was taken in and taken over by the Justice Torkono conversation.
Direct uncle, father's elder brother, was this man who betrayed Kwame Nkrumah. Dr. Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, who took money from the CIA, and he was the most trusted confidant of Nkrumah, and told Kwame Nkrumah that Nkrumah should travel, there would be no coup, because CIA had promised him to make him the next president of Ghana. That man's niece is this man. Until all this matter, I wouldn't have known. So she should not sleep in those lies. Whether she likes it or not, she will not be the Chief Justice of Ghana forever. She should understand that.
I love this historian. I listened to him, but this was grossly unfair. It was completely baseless. And I like the way she talked about Torkono not having evidence. He says Torkono doesn't have any evidence about Adu Lodge. He said, which book, which this, which that. But for a historian of his caliber, he has not seen the final report of the Special Investigations Board. He hasn't seen it. This man is much old. He's old. A historian, he's a great historian of his caliber. He has not seen this document that mentions Adu Lodge. I'll come to Kwesi-Nsaki. But look at Adu Lodge. Let me just finish with this one. This is what it says. This is in the SIB report, which was authored by Justice, no less a person than Justice Adu Boahen. He authored this report with other senior barristers, Akins, and all of that. They interviewed a wide range of people. It's here. Let me put it well so you can see it. Amatekwe and Captain Chikata met at Adu Lodge on 31st October 1982 and agreed upon a strategy to mislead the Special Investigations Board in order to save the government from disgrace, blah, blah, blah. So it is mentioned. Adu Lodge is clearly mentioned in a very, very important document called the Special Investigation, the report of the Special Investigations Board. This is the most gruesome murder that has occurred in the history of Ghana. And this is the document of the investigation of the murder by a committee put together by J.J. Rawlings and the PNDC, chaired by Adu Boahen. And he says he hasn't seen it. Okay, forget about that. Let's come to Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. Put back Kwesi-Nsaki and Nkrumah. Let me deal with it. Alex Kwesi-Nsaki has died. He was Ghana's foreign minister. You come and sit on TV and say that he took $1 million from CIA to betray the Osagefo with absolutely no evidence, no basis. You just say it. And you are accusing Justice Torkono of saying the same thing. No basis, nowhere. He just said it. I wish I could play that again for you to see if I have time. Because he just said it that, oh, I didn't know that her uncle was Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. And Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, and somebody in the studio was giggling and laughing. I don't know who it was. That when they say something like that about your uncle, about your father, about your grandfather, you'll be giggling and laughing. When the person produces absolutely not one shred of evidence. So we set out to do the research. Now, and he also says that it was Alex Kwesi-Nsaki who asked Nkrumah to travel. That's also so blatantly false. Nkrumah had been invited by the United Nations to become a mediator in the Vietnam crisis. So it has nothing to do with Alex Kwesi-Nsaki telling Nkrumah that you should travel and there will be no coup. That's so childish. Sounds like a conversation of 9-year-olds. Travel, there will be no coup. Is that how presidents travel? Presidents travel, there will be no coup. President don't travel, there will be coup. But Nkrumah has written extensively about his life. He has written extensively about his deeds. So a historian of that caliber, I thought that you would go and read the document. This is The Dark Days in Ghana, one of the few books that Nkrumah expressly describes all the events that occurred around the coup and around his travel. So Nkrumah had traveled to go and do something very, very important of global consequence. And then you sit on TV and say, Alex Kwesi-Nsaki took $1 million. Oh my goodness, I'm so sad. If you know him, tell him we beg. We love his history. Distortion is the enemy of history. Distortion is the enemy of history. It's not good at all. He shouldn't do that. I want to be a historian too. And I try to make sure that I don't distort. You have to go to the facts and deal with the facts as it is. Especially, so you cannot come and say, Alex Kwesi-Nsaki took $1 million. You just say it on Ghana television. Nothing, you don't provide a shred of evidence. And you say it and walk away with it. I'm challenging him. He should bring the evidence that shows that Alex Kwesi-Nsaki did whatever. I'm not a CPP person. I don't even know Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. I never met him, of course. He died before I was born, I'm sure. But that's not the point. It is about the distortion of national history, about which all of us ought to be very passionate. Now, let's go to the dark days in Ghana and see the things Nkrumah said. First, about Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. And secondly, about the so-called CIA money. Nkrumah talks about the money and names the people who Nkrumah alleges were to benefit from that money. Nkrumah names them. I'm totally disappointed that a historian of that caliber has not read the dark days in Ghana to be able to make important points on television. So all the history that he's been talking about, should we take him serious? I like the way he articulates, and I love his history. But I'm beginning to be worried that if the history he's been talking about is not based on any research, and he just comes to talk, then there's a problem, a real problem that Ghana television should be dealing with. A historian sits on the state broadcaster and talks about Ghana's history anyhow. All right, what did Nkrumah say? Let's check it out. Yes, this is the book, The Dark Days in Ghana. So, thank you. The Dark Days in Ghana is written by Osajifo. Let's go to the details then. All right. Now, we start from how the news of the coup broke to the Osajifo. He says, the news brought to me by the Chinese ambassador in Accra, who had gone on ahead to Peking to meet me and to be with me during my visit to China. He had just accompanied Prime Minister Chu and other officials when they welcomed us at the airport. And he had come straight on out of the government house where I was staying. I remember his exact words. Quote, Mr. President, I have bad news. There has been a coup d'etat in Ghana. I was taking a brief rest after the long flight from Rangoon and wondered if I had heard him correctly. What did you say? Nkrumah asked. A coup d'etat in Ghana? And it goes on. Impossible, I said, Nkrumah speaking. Quote again, but yes, it is possible. These things do happen. They are in the nature of the revolutionary struggle. This is Nkrumah talking. I learned later that the Chinese welcoming party had known about events in Ghana when I stepped from the aircraft at Peking. But the characteristic courtesy had waited to break the news to me privately. My first reaction was to return immediately to Accra. If the VC-10 of Ghana Airways, in which we had traveled most of the way, had been at Peking, I would have embarked at once. But we had left it behind in Rangoon and had continued to Peking in an aircraft sent by the Chinese government. I knew that to avoid unnecessary bloodshed, I would have to be back in Ghana within 24 hours, and this was clearly impossible. I decided, therefore, to make an immediate statement to the Ghanaian people and to fight back on African soil just as soon as my host could make the necessary travel arrangements. As I discussed the news from Ghana with 22 officials accompanying me, among them Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, Foreign Minister, Kwesi Ama, Minister of Trade, M.F. Dayanan, Ambassador Extraordinaire in charge of African Affairs, J.E. Bosman, Ambassador to the UK, F. Arkest, Ghana's permanent representative at the United Nations, I was somewhat disappointed to note their reaction. At a time like this, I would have expected them to show courage and fortitude, but most of them were frightened. Kwesi-Nsaki, for example, developed diarrhea and must have visited the lavatory about 20 times that day. Their obvious dismay was in striking contrast to the calmness and courage of the 66 other personnel, the security officers, and the members of my personal secretariat. These were men. Compared with them, the politicians were old women. So this is part one. Nkrumah describes the reaction of Alex Kwesi-Nsaki and others. Note also that Nkrumah traveled with more than 70 people for one trip. The president of Ghana. Today we say president is traveling. Yeah, that's Nkrumah did that. He traveled, you saw it, 66 security, 66. They were all in the Ghana Airways. They flew to Peking. Sergeant for Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the president. Anyway, that's a side issue. So Nkrumah now describes Alex Kwesi-Nsaki and says that he lacked courage. He didn't say that he took 1 million from anybody. But I'll get to the millions. And Nkrumah talks about the millions as well. I'm going to get there. So please tell the historian that he should just read The Dark Days in Ghana and correct himself and stop saying false things about people who have died and giving bad press to their families and all of that. People who have served Ghana, you don't come and sit on TV and say they've done something that you have no basis to say they've done. So Nkrumah says, Alex Kwesi-Nsaki went to the lavatory. He was frightened. The same man that they say he took 1 million for the coup to happen, he was frightened and he went to the lavatory several times. Okay, next agenda is here. Nkrumah says, with Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, I will deal later. Kwesi Ama settled down in London, blah, blah, blah. I won't read all that. It's about Alex Kwesi-Nsaki. So he said, with Alex Kwesi-Nsaki, I will deal with later. And he does the later in the book. On page 49 of Dark Days in Ghana, he talks about the money. Here we go. Do we have it? Okay, it's still about, it says Kwesi Saki, as foreign minister, was entrusted with a very important mission. He was to go to Addis Ababa to represent the legal government of Ghana at the OAU Conference of Foreign Ministers due to open within a few days. Instead of rising to the occasion and accepting this great challenge and responsibility, he went to Accra and offered his services to the neo-colonialist puppets, the so-called National Liberation Council. The latter, it seems, made little use of him. Traitors have no friends. So Alex Kwesi Saki was supposed to go to the African Union Conference and to represent the government that had been seemingly overthrown by the coup d'etat in Ghana. Kwesi Saki decided that he was too frightened to go and represent the CPP government. So he came to Ghana and tried to make peace with the people. And as Nkrumah says, they had very little use of him. They threw him away because traitors don't have friends. That's what Nkrumah says. So this is Kwesi Saki. He refused to show fortitude. He refused to show strength. But in any case, at that time, all the list of people that Nkrumah mentioned, Kwesiama, Dayanan, in fact, Bedema had run away. His finance minister had gone. Almost everyone had deserted Nkrumah. So deserting Nkrumah in those days was not something to be called treacherous. The entire government had deserted the Osajefo for different reasons that we are not going to explain tonight. So Nkrumah was clear in his mind that like Kwesi Saki was so frightened, together with the 22 officials, that he couldn't rely on them. He didn't say they took bribe. They didn't say they took money. That is the bad part that the historian talked about. Now let's go to the money. I'm sure we are there now. Okay. No, are we there? No, he's still talking about the coup, the operation. Well, he talks about Kotoka a little bit here that I might just add. He said Kotoka subsequently boasted of killing of Major General Bawa, but said because he was protected by juju, he was able to catch the bullets from the bullets that Bawa fired in his defense and to throw them back at him. When the counter coup of April 1967 took place, Kotoka's magic could not save him. Unlike Bawa, he surrendered without protest or struggle to those who had captured him at the headquarters. His juju, as Nkrumah put it, did not prevent him from being shot. So Nkrumah is talking about General Kotoka, who encountered Nkrumah's most trusted general, General Bawa. Those of you who know Accra, Bawa lived at Gold House. You know, Ashanti Goldfields office, there's a house directly on your way to Tank Palace in Roman Ridge. That's where General Bawa lived. And they went there to kill General Bawa. And Kotoka was sort of leading it. And Kotoka boasted, as Nkrumah put it, that Bawa shot back at him, but he had juju to collect Bawa's bullets. And Nkrumah says that when the coup occurred a year later in 67, Kotoka's juju could not save him. And Kotoka sadly died, for which reason we named the airport after him. Okay, let me get to the issues of money. Well, Nkrumah says something here about his family that we'll talk about another time. His mother was forced to appear before a commission of inquiry. All of those things were very bad. I mean, Nkrumah says they put his mother in front of a commission of inquiry to say that she was not the mother of Osajefo and all of that. It's very, very terrible history that we have to remember, but we have to forgive. Okay, so let me get on. I think this is it. So it says, it has been one of the tasks of the CIA and other similar organizations to discover these potential quislings and traitors in our midst and to encourage them by bribery. Very important because Nkrumah talks about the deal. To encourage them by bribery and the promise of political power to destroy the constitutional government of their countries. In Ghana, the embassies of the United States, Britain, and West Germany were all implicated in the plots to overthrow my government. It is alleged that the U.S. ambassador, Franklin Williams, offered the traitors $13 million to carry out a coup d'etat. Afrifa, Harley, and Kotoka were to get a large share of this if they would assassinate me at the Accra airport as I prepared to leave for Hanoi. I understand that Afrifa said, quote, I think it will fail, and declined the offer. So apparently did the others. Now, where is this historian? The historian sitting on GBC. Nkrumah says there was a $13 million, and Nkrumah is alleged, we don't know whether it's true, but we believe Osajefo, don't we? He's our first president. Nkrumah said there was a $13 million available from the CIA to be paid to people to betray him. Nkrumah proceeds to name the people for whom the $13 million was created. Afrifa, Harley, and Kotoka. Does he mention Kwesi Saki? You have seen the words that Nkrumah has used to describe Kwesi Saki in this book. If Kwesi Saki was part of collecting money, surely it would have been here. So people should stop doing that. Come and sit on TV and publish something that you have absolutely no basis to say. You are criticizing Torkono that she provides no evidence, even though the SIB report mentions Adu Lodge. Forget about that. And then you, the historian, you come and publish something, just say it about people, about Alex Kwesi Saki, his heritage, his family, his children, his grandchildren. Alex Kwesi Saki may have a grandchild who is 15 years old, and you are telling him that his grandfather collected. If it is true, it is true. It's part of our history. But if you don't have a basis to say it, it's really irresponsible to talk the way he spoke. So completely irresponsible. How can you make a statement without any evidence alleging that somebody had taken 1 million or millions of dollars, whatever it is, to overthrow somebody, and the CIA promised him that they will make him president? Through what election? Through the coup? What was he talking about? These are the kinds of things. He's a very good historian. I always listen to him. Anytime I see his video, I watch. In fact, when I know he's going on GTV, I switch in the morning to GTV to watch Kafui Day, and then I listen to him. He's great. During the election, he had a lot to say about history. He's very good. This one was terribly disappointing, and anyone who knows him should tell him that no. Get to the dark days in Ghana on page 49. Nkrumah explains what the millions of dollars there was for. He names 3 people who were supposed to benefit from the millions of dollars. Nkrumah does not name Alex Kwesi Saki. Nkrumah will definitely have more information than the historian sitting in the studio, because it was about him, and he wrote an entire book about it. So please, the book is here. You can get copies. Contact us. We'll give you. We can just photocopy for you. I think it's out of print. It's a PANAF. It's a PANAF publication. PANAF is a UK-based book publisher, and most of PANAF published most of Nkrumah's book, and they did this one as well. Please, let's get the history straight and stop these kinds of things. It's not good. It's not good at all. The fact that Rollins said we should stop learning history in the school, we shouldn't also take advantage of it and just say anything at all, because we know that people are not learning history. If people were learning history in their schools at class 6, JSS 1, JSS 2, somebody would have told, hey, this man is not speaking the truth. That's not what Nkrumah said. It's not recorded anywhere. There's no document anywhere that Alex Kwesi Saki took CIA money in. No. CIA may have been involved in the coup. There's no doubt about it. We have put out a documentary where an American expert is saying that the CIA were definitely part of the coup. Yes, nobody's doubting that. But the fact that you say that Alex Kwesi Saki took money, it's wrong. You don't have any basis to say that. Anyway, time is running fast. Let's get on to the big issues. Do you have any text messages on these ones so far? All right, let's take it, and then we come to Adu Boahen in court and show you why Otchere is livid about the judge. Let me start with, let's start with Kobe? Okay, Kobe, you first.
All right, so thank you, Paul. Yao Febri says, people have been skewing history to suit their favorites. So when someone is saying Kwesi Saki betrayed Dr. Kwame Nkrumah of his coup removal as a head of state, we should not be surprised, but search for the right source, like Mr. Paul is doing tonight. Tadra Kowari says, Paul, you have really shamed this man. Let him do his research very well before he speaks. All these guys shouldn't be invited on public TV. Ebenezer Alotia says, this thing has been long overdue. We always allow the lies to trend and sit in the minds of Ghanaians before the facts come out. Now finally, Master Planner Jr. from Kintampo says, historian Papa Bain, emotional history inquirer. I am so surprised that a national television like GTV allows this kind of commentary on their show. They need to come out as soon as possible to issue a disclaimer and also disassociate themselves from these palpable lies. History and hunger doesn't match. What do you have for us, Ella?
Right, this one is from Osei Shifman. He says, in fact, I'm pretty glad that you have exposed the lies and mischief of this so-called historian who keeps distorting history. Once people like you are around, we are always assured of the truth. No wonder Good Evening Ghana continues to lead and others follow. I could hear the other ignorant panelists laughing at his lies. I'm very sorry. Hashtag say no to fake historian. This one is from Toby. He said, who the hell is he? He described him as a historian, yet he doesn't know the basic facts, as you have already told us. Yet he insists that he was a good historian. Note that in Ghana, if you're able to speak to the confusion of many, you are considered intelligent and knowledgeable. Clearly, he is not well read. Interesting. This one is from Kofi. He says, this Alo historian is just fooling. He's trying to wipe the history of Dankwa with his fake narrative. Yao says, people have been skewing history to suit their favorite. So when someone is saying Kwesi betrayed Dr. Nkrumah because of his coup as head of state, we should not be surprised, but search for the right source like Mr. Paul is doing tonight. And this one, lastly from Bennett Allen, he says, for the national historian. All right, back to you.
Somebody sends me a text, no number, no name on my phone. I think his name is the name on the Truecaller says Skelly Dread. He says, Paul, congratulations for the work, but the book can be downloaded. It says search and download Dark Days in Ghana, and you can get it. He's writing to us from Washington, D.C. It must be afternoon in Washington, D.C. I'm happy that any Ghanaian is sitting in Washington, D.C. and watching us. You feel good about that, don't we? We really feel good about it. Okay. But when history gets distorted, I get emotional about it, so I'm sorry about it. Okay. Whoa. So the Adu Boahen trial is going on, and let me just put it in proper context. So Adu Boahen has been arrested and charged for misappropriation of state funds, etc., etc. Yeah, let me stand here so you can see Otchere's face. He's been charged for misappropriation of state funds, isn't it? Okay. Now, Adu Boahen says he did not misappropriate state funds. That as a national security agent, they use money to do different kinds of things. And if you take the national security account, you will find that historically and almost everywhere in the world, that's how national securities work. They use classifications. So you may see that they gave money to X and they actually gave the money to Y. You may see they use money for W and they actually use it for V, etc., etc. Now, Adu Boahen wrote a letter to the National Security Coordinator informing him that the way the trial is going to proceed, he might be compelled to breach their code by coming into court, into the witness box, to announce certain payments that had been made onto certain events that the people of Ghana, we the ordinary people of Ghana, should not really know. Because if we get to know, it might reduce the effectiveness of the national security operations. Now, when that letter was written, all hell broke loose, isn't it? So, people say, Okay. Now, we know that consultations began among some current and past security heads who have run the national security for a while. We are told that those meetings perhaps are still going on, but they are all concerned about the extent of information that can be given to the general public relating to national security matters. In fact, in the acts that establish the National Signals Bureau, there's a portion there that when people go rogue as security people, there's a way in which there's an internal disciplinary system within the national security apparatus to deal with it. It is said that section was put there in the law because it was intended to prevent, it's almost like in camera, it was intended to prevent the general public from knowing in such detail why a security person has been punished or has not been punished, what he did or what he didn't do. Because if your peers are conducting a disciplinary action, they know what the classification means. You cannot tell them, if you're talking to me, you can say anything, I will believe it. But if you are talking to your peers, they know what the classification is. So the law that Parliament passed said that when such people, those who operate the national security, go wrong, or as they put it in their terms, go rogue, you know how to punish them. It was the intention of Councillor Otchere that if indeed Adu Boahen had gone rogue, the first people who would have called him to order, given that Adu Boahen still works with the national security, he still works with the Signals Bureau, he's just not a director anymore because that's the prerogative of the president. But he still works with the national security apparatus, so that's a civil service job, it's not a political job. So he's still a staff. So he could have been called to order and treated according to the act that Parliament passed. Anyway, it appeared all that went on to deaf ears. So then the trial, the case management process starts, and then the trial is about to start. At the beginning of the trial, the learned Attorney General here, Justice Sremsai, produces a document. That document is the National Security Operational Accounts, beginning 2017 and ending 2024. Observers and lawyers looked at the document and believed they could easily see where Sremsai is going. Sremsai is hoping to urge on the court that this is the correct national security operational account, and that whatever Adu Boahen is saying, if it is not found here, then he's not being truthful to the court. That's really what Sremsai wants to do. Atachia, counsel for Kwabena Adu Boahen, he says that, okay, if you have produced the national security operational account from 2017 to 2024, may I also apply for disclosure? Let me say a little bit about disclosure in a layman's word. Now, disclosure is an application that lawyers use. You can use it in a criminal trial or in a civil trial. Disclosure means that, you know, when we go to court in the Anglo-American common law jurisdiction, we know the fundamental ethos: guilty, innocent until proven guilty, and the judge is only an umpire, he's not an advocate. All of those things exist. The other thing that exists in the common law jurisdiction is that I am going to prosecute my case if I am on the defense side, and I have to bring my own documents to prosecute my case. But then what is discovery? Discovery is the process where I'm saying to the court that the thing that I need to prove my case is with him. So the court should please subpoena him to bring it. I'll give you a classic example. If I'm prosecuting somebody, and or somebody is being prosecuted, how do I say it? I'm trying to use the passport to make it simple. Okay, I'm challenging somebody that you were in America in February 2025, and it is there that you committed the crime. And then the judge tells me, how do you know that he was in America? I said that, but it is in his passport. If you take his passport, you will see that he was in America. But the passport is with him, it's not with me. So I apply for discovery. And then the judge will say that discovery application granted. Please produce your passport. That's discovery, basically, so that we can all understand it. You know, the lawyers will use big words, but we can understand it. That's fundamental what discovery is. The thing I want to use to prove my case is with you. Or murder. Knife has been used to commit murder. The knife is in your house, it's in your kitchen. So discovery, please ask him to produce every knife in his kitchen, and I'll show you the one that was used to commit the murder. Something like that. That's discovery. So Atachia says that, okay, if you have produced the national security operational account, which we should not really see, but nonetheless, it will help the prosecution's case. So Justice Sremsai has produced from 2017 up until 2024. Atachia says that for me to demonstrate to the court that the national security operational account of 2017 to 2024 is no different from all the national security accounts from 1992, because that is how the national security always works. I am applying for discovery to subpoena the national security operational account from 1992 up to 2017. And he's telling the court that your lordship will notice that the operational accounts, if you can bring them here, will all look very similar. And then you can tell me whether Kwabena Adu Boahen has done anything wrong or not. In bringing the national security operation account, one of the important critical legs on which it stands is the bank details of how monies are taken and removed from the bank and what they are used for. In any case, Kwabena Adu Boahen is being prosecuted for how banking processes were done. He took 7 million. He took it in Ghana must go back. He went to give it to his wife. His wife went to give it to his friend. And his friend used it to buy a house. And all those charges against Kwabena Adu Boahen. Atachia is saying to the court that if you allow my discovery application, you will find that the national security operation is the same. Let's move on. You leave that. Put that aside. Now, Atta filed the application, and this morning, the application for discovery was denied. The Attorney General argued against it, and he argued on the basis of relevance, that the document that Atta is looking for is not relevant. I'm not so sure how in criminal law a defense can be told that something they are using to defend themselves is not relevant. The defense is left to them. They can bring anything they want unless the evidence is such that it's untrue or something like that. But anyway, the irrelevance conversation seemed to have won the day unless it goes on appeal. I don't know whether it's going to go on appeal, but Sremsai's instincts to have the application for discovery to be denied won today. But then there was something very curious. Extremely curious. The document that came into the courts of the bank details has on it page is 1 to 46, 1 to 146. Page 1, you know, when you're this document, you see 1 to 89, 1 to there, so you know that the last page is 246. But the document that is in the court, from page 1 or page 2, it jumps to page 89, the bank details. And you know how bank documents, those of you who have taken a bank document to go and collect visa before, you know how it is. Page 1, page 2, page 3, and it's sequential. It shows everything. Now, this document that has come to court, apparently, as is being told to journalists, has a whooping 75 or 74 pages missing. And that's how Otchere got livid and told the judge that what is happening? How do you have the bank details in the National Security Operations, and from page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 70 something is all not there. Could it be an oversight? Maybe it is. Could it be deliberate? I don't know. But this is the matter. And the reason why we are talking about this today, let me have the counsels and the judge again. The reason why we are talking about this today is that when we are building a democracy, as we've been doing for 35 years, certain things should not change. Governments change, elections are won, elections are lost, parliament changes, but certain things should not change. The rights of the people and the rights to a fair trial guaranteed under the 1992 Constitution should never change. Kaysel Atuforsen got a fair trial to the point where he won an appeal. The Atuforsen people were angry with Attorney General, but in terms of Efia Sewa's conduct at the trial, they never raised any issue against the judge. They were satisfied that they got a fair trial. Justice Opuni got a fair trial. Is he Justice? Mr. Opuni, Cocoa Board. He got a fair trial to the point where he even was winning Supreme Court interlocutory applications. Fair trial. The NCA people, they got a fair trial to the point where one of them won on appeal, had the Court of Appeal overturn his submission of no case, which he had lost at the trial court. So we all thought that we had come to a certain position with fair trial. It is very, very important for all those people who are young in government and those who are old in government, that certain things about the democracy, we don't touch it. You can fight, we can fight, we can. You know, when we started talking about warrant, when people are going to arrest, they don't have warrant. Have you seen that now? They all have warrants. Did you listen to Lydia Donko's press conference, the CIA? He said when they went to Masoko Fijuma, they had a warrant. So they are procuring warrants before they go. It's a step in the right direction. And the fair trial is not in favor of anyone. It is in favor of all of us. When anybody is arrested in England, it does not occur to him that he will not have a fair trial. Nobody in England thinks about that. Whether you are the biggest enemy of the government, nobody in America thinks that I will not have a fair trial. Donald Trump, when he was being prosecuted under the Democrats, he was confident that he would get a fair trial. He was sure. He knew that this prosecution had been occasioned by Joe Biden. He used to call him Sleepy Joe. We cannot call him like that. He's the president of the United States of America. He's Joe Biden. So, but Donald Trump was sure that he would get a fair trial. No Ghanaian should go through a process and think and wonder and worry whether he is going to get a fair trial or not. Whether he's going to get a fair trial or not. The other day, I was with the old Attorney General, and people were asking him that you are prosecuting Kaysel Atuforsen. Why are you not prosecuting the one who gave the legal opinion on which Atuforsen relied? And I remember very well what he said, that you cannot punish an Attorney General for doing his work and offering a legal opinion. It is the way in which the legal opinion is applied is what we are dealing with. Guess who had done the legal opinion? Dominic Ayini. He had offered the legal opinion upon which the Atuforsen, part of the legs on which the Atuforsen trial was being conducted. The Attorney General of the day, belonging to an opposite political party, was being given pressure that you should add the person who did. He said, no, I can't do that. He was doing his work. As a Deputy Attorney General, he offered his opinion. And that's why Dominic Ayini was not prosecuted. Because an Attorney General felt that you cannot prosecute somebody who is just doing his work. Those who benefited from it are the people we are looking for. Now, the reason why I'm saying all of these things that I may sound boring is because in 2000, I've shown you the video. I don't have it today, but it's there. I can show it to you later. I was there when Rawlings was voting. I was standing side by side with him when he put his ballot in the box. And I asked him in a live interview that, who did you vote for? And he said, my vote is my secret. He had obviously voted for Professor Mills, of course. And I saw the power of the Rawlings regime. In 2002, I saw the same people who were so powerful under Rawlings regime lead demonstrations on the road. I saw it, that they were leading demonstrations on the road. One day, it was in 2000, I went to Asylum Down in Kweku Sechado's office, as I used to do, to visit with him. And he had had issues with Tony Adu on front page. And I was talking to him about how did he feel. He said, Paul, these things, I don't worry about it. I said, why? He said, tomorrow, they will come back to me to cover their demonstration. And I said, I don't understand. He said, these politicians, but they can lose election tomorrow. There's an election this year. Do you know who is going to win? I said, I don't know. He said, yes. Tomorrow, these same people will come back to me that I should come and cover their demonstrations. I left the conversation. 2003, Tony Adu was holding a yellow gallon in the Atu Boahen group, Kwesi Price group, whatever they called it, Alliance for something or something. They were holding yellow gallons and they were demonstrating against Kufuor. And I remembered what Kweku Sechadow said, that these powerful men are on the street demonstrating. So I saw that. I saw Kufuor's administration. In 2008, in the election, I was right there with Nanado, fighting for power and supporting his agenda. Mills won the election. And some of the people who had been very powerful in Kufuor's administration, I saw what happened to them. One of them, whose name I won't mention, I got a phone call from him about 10th January 2009, very early. And he said, Paul, me airport, me too quiet, Then I heard another slap, pow, I said, hey, what's happening? Then I put the phone down, I called my head, he said, Charlie, we have to go to the airport. So and so is being attacked. This was a very powerful minister 2 months ago. I saw it. 2009. Need I say more? In the same NDC, between 2011 and 2013, we saw people fall from up to zero in the same NDC administration. I saw it. Then came the John Mahama administration. 2017, we saw people who had national security consequence fall from zero to this. The reason why that happens is because there's political change. If we continue to do it like this, the reprisals will continue. But if we set some standards, as I saw the former Attorney General do, in refusing to prosecute the Attorney General who rendered the opinion that on the basis of legal principle you can't prosecute, then we will go somewhere. This kind of prosecution, which makes the person feels that I'm getting if Adu Boahen has done something wrong, he goes through a trial process. The trial process, the criminal procedure will bring it out, and you can punish him. Agradaa is gone to jail today, hasn't she? Unfortunately. So you don't need to do anything to put Adu Boahen in jail. You just have to give a fair trial, because viewers, I'm telling you, we can be sitting here and we will all go on Ghana Web one day and we will see that the president-elect has appointed Adu Boahen as the National Security Coordinator. That day may come, and people's eyes will start falling off their head. The same Adu Boahen, we could be sitting here, and we will see on Ghana Web, Adu Boahen appointed National Security Coordinator. They will say, President-elect, speaking to the media in front of Jubilee House, announced that he has appointed Adu Boahen as the National Security Coordinator. What will happen to those who have taken him through an unfair process? What will happen? We were sitting here when we heard that Attorney General Dominic Ayine has discontinued the matter involving Governor Esiama, former governor of the Bank of Ghana. The next day, we heard President John Dramani Mahama has appointed Esiama as the governor of the Bank of Ghana. It has happened. You don't know tomorrow, because this is politics. As for election, you can win it by 5 billion and lose it by 5 billion. In any case, have we not been in Ghana? The same people who have lost the election are the same people who have won it. When Akufo-Addo lost the election, they laughed at him. He's short. He can never be president. He's a Chebi man. His family, there is scarce. Dankwa didn't become president. Oforiatta didn't become president. He will never be president. He will never be. He will never be. He will never be. Today, Akufo-Addo is former president 2 terms. They say he will never be president 2 terms. 2 terms. And he won until John Maham's recent victory. The biggest victory. 2016, John Mahama lost. There were NDC people who said, it's John Mahama who has caused us a defeat. Look at the thing he was doing. Look at Dumso. Look at all these people. Look at this. Look at that. And John Mahama, dear, no. John Mahama can be president of Ghana again. MPP people said it. Today, John Mahama is president of Ghana again. So, let us all be careful. Let's keep the standards and the things that we cannot touch. Let's leave it. And let's touch the things we can touch. President can appoint his people. He will never appoint an MPP person. We are not going to ask him to appoint an MPP anybody. He has to appoint his people. He has the power. He has to deal with it. He changes holiday. Akufo-Addo came and put a 4th August there. Somebody comes and removes 4th August. No problem. But criminal procedure, let us keep it so that people don't feel that the system is working against me. Because that system can come back into the hands of the person against whom it is being used. That same system. I won't say much. I'll leave it there. Let's go to the photographs of the Indian Prime Minister and then see what we got. I like the guy, man. When he spoke to Parliament, Charlie, the guy was so smooth. And this is the Indian Prime Minister being met by John Dramani Mahama at the airport, Kotoka International Airport. I like the young lady who gave him the bouquet. The Indian Prime Minister here taking the national salute of India, assisted by John Dramani Mahama, whose cap is very beautiful. It combines the national colors in a certain way. Yeah, the military detachment, I believe they are from 5BN. They are always my people, the military people. They are always my people. And this is John Dramani Mahama and the Indian Prime Minister. An Indian Prime Minister has not visited in, they said, some 30 years or so. President Mahama and the Indian Prime Minister over here. Let's go on to more photographs. They were admiring the beautiful wall hangings at the presidential villa. Now, this is very important. President John Mahama gives the Indian Prime Minister the highest honor of Ghana. Then I think there was dinner at which I saw Foreign Minister resplendently dressed. This is Professor Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, the Vice President, also engaging the Indian Prime Minister.